What is going on, everybody? My name is Corey, aka Scarn, and today we got a Christmas tree up. And at the time of posting this video, it's before Thanksgiving. And if you're seeing this before Thanksgiving, then you know it's before Thanksgiving, and it's an acceptable time to put up that tree. I don't want to hear anything different. And now that we got that straightened out, let's talk about today's video. And that is how to set up a single PC stream. Now, all the rave out there obviously is your dual PC streaming setup, and some of us, well, we just can't afford a second PC right now or justify buying another PC right now to have a dual PC stream. So we're stuck gaming and streaming off of the same PC, which in my experience isn't all that bad. Now, of course, you're not going to be getting the same kind of performance in your stream and your game like you would having them both on separate PCs, but that doesn't mean that you still can't have a great gaming experience while putting out a great viewing experience. While putting out a great viewing experience for your audience. But before we go into that, I did want to mention that I do run my single PC streaming setup to Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from 6:30 p.m. Eastern and on, and I'm doing Saturday mornings now as well. And times on that vary on whenever I decide to get up. So if you have some free time, pop on by, say hello, give the stream a follow, and show some love. So for this video, since it is going to be a little bit of a longer one, because we'll have to go through every single thing that you will need in order to set up your single PC setup, as well as how to set it all up, I'm going to be putting timestamps to everything in the description below so you can get to whatever part that you want. So this video is going to be broken up into 3 basic parts, going more into detail into each part as we get to it, and those parts being your gear and software that you absolutely need to get your stream running, how to set up all your hardware properly so your PC recognizes it and it can run correctly, and lastly, the software that you'll need and how to set it up in order to run your stream. Now, as far as your software goes, I'm only going to be going into as much detail as I need to show you how to hook up every piece of hardware that we're going to be going over, so that way your streaming software recognizes it and you're able to use it in your stream. So with that being said, let's dive into part 1. And part 1 is the gear that you absolutely need. Not that you want, there's a difference between the two. There's some gear that might be helpful to your stream, but it's not a necessity to get the stream up and running. So that begs the question, Corey, what do I absolutely need to get my single PC stream up and running? Well, the first thing, and this should be pretty obvious, is a PC. Now, off the top of my head, I do not have the base specs that you'll need to run a game and a stream off of the same PC, but I'll put that over the screen right now so you can see it. Pause the video if you want, look at it and see if your PC at the very least matches it or is above it. The second thing on the list you're gonna need is a microphone. A lot of people try to get away with just using the webcam microphone or their DSLR microphone, and while those technically work, they do not sound good at all. I highly recommend you guys getting a microphone specifically for your voice, for your stream to hear you. Now, you might be looking at your headset and thinking it already has a microphone. That can work for you as well. So then technically another microphone wouldn't necessarily be an absolute need, but I feel audio is so important for the viewer experience, I would almost still put it in that need category, especially if you're talking with teammates over an Xbox party chat, which you can still do on PC, or Discord. I really do feel like having 2 microphones or even using the microphone that you would buy would be beneficial to you and your viewers. It's just gonna make that experience for them all around better. And to add on to that, I would say get a USB version microphone. It's a lot easier to set up and it's what I'm gonna be showing you how to do today. The next thing on the list that you'll need, which again, if you wanna get super technical, isn't a 100% necessity, but like I keep saying, this is all for the viewers. So for the viewers' experience, I would say invest in a webcam or a DSLR. Now myself personally, I use this DSLR that I'm filming on right now to use on my stream. I am by trade a videographer / photographer, so I need a high grade camera anyways for what I do. So I hooked that right up into my PC and it looks great. Now, you definitely don't need the kind of DSLR that I have, but if you want a higher end looking image to get that nice, buttery, smooth looking background that just makes it look like a high-end camera, then there are great DSLR options out there on the cheap. I'll leave a few of those in the description below, and while I'm mentioning it, I'll leave everything that I mentioned in today's video in the description below for your convenience. Now, depending on what you just chose between the webcam and the DSLR, is going to determine what you'll need next. If you did choose webcam, a lot of those hook up via USB straight into your PC. And that right there is good to go. Your PC will recognize it and your streaming software will recognize it as a webcam. If you chose the route I went and use a DSLR, you will need a way to hook that up into your PC. I personally use the Camlink 4K. There are other means to hook up your camera to your PC, being cheaper options than the Camlink 4K. I can only speak for the Camlink 4K from Elgato because, like I said, that's what I have. And if you're asking me personally, it works great. If you have it in the budget, then I would 100% buy one, and you'll need one or something like it if you're choosing a DSLR. And the last thing, which is another obvious one, you will need at least one monitor. I do recommend two if you're streaming. Even if you just have a spare TV lying around, that works as well. So that way you can keep tabs on your streaming software and make sure that it's running properly. The second part we're gonna get into is the software needed to run your stream. I personally use Streamlabs, which OBS Studios is very similar to, so as you're following along through this video, if you're using either two, you should be able to follow along just fine. And aside from downloading your streaming software of choice, you'll need to download your gaming software of choice. And that's it for software. Now going into the actual part 2, because the last part was more of a 1B since I was combining hardware and software needed. Part 2 is going to be your hardware setup, which for most of the hardware that we have talked about so far is as simple as just plugging into the correct spot on your PC. So your monitor, whether it's a DisplayPort or HDMI, will go straight into your PC's DisplayPort or HDMI port. Your webcam should be USB, so that'll plug into any open USB slot on your PC. If you're using a DSLR, then you'll take the cable that comes with the Camlink that we talked about, plug it into the mini USB spot in your DSLR, plug the other end into your Camlink, and the Camlink straight into your PC. And next will be your microphone of choice. If you're using a headset, then you don't need to worry about this. But if you're using a USB microphone, then that will plug straight into another open USB slot on your PC. And that's really it for your hardware setup. So for part 3, we'll jump straight into the computer to go over how to set up the streaming software. Okay, now that we have the hardware all set up and connected properly, we want to get it running in your software of choice, which for me, like I said before, is going to be Streamlabs OBS. Now, once you have the website pulled up, which I already do over here, you'll want to make sure you go over to where it says download. Make sure you're downloading the right one for whatever setup you're on. Obviously, I'm on a Windows PC. If you're on Apple, then they'll have an option for that as well. But I'm not gonna click download since I already have it downloaded onto my PC. So for you, if you're just starting out, then make sure you download that now. Next, after it's downloaded, you want to open the software. So I already have it open. That's what I'm recording on right now. So I will pull it down here. And voila, here it is, Streamlabs OBS. Now in the future, I plan on making a beginner's guide to Streamlabs OBS, what settings to use and which might be best for your type of setup specifically and your internet connection. But for the sake of this video and keeping it as short as possible, which is hard because there's a lot to go over, I will just quickly brush over the settings that I use. Now keep in mind I am currently recording, so I can't change anything, and my recording settings are different than my streaming settings. But if we go to video specifically, my native resolution on this main display that I have right here that would be capturing my gameplay is a 1440p monitor, so that's what I have it as my base canvas. And then when I output it to Twitch, I personally am using currently 720p. That's what's easiest for most people to stream onto their personal device, and most people are streaming on a mobile device. So 720 is more than enough for people to see it clearly and smoothly. Down here, I would output it at 48 frames a second. That's less frames you're trying to send to the server, and currently my internet service provider is not so great, so trying to output too many frames to Twitch can sometimes be unreliable. Now we slide up here to output settings. Briefly, I'll go over it. Bitrate is all dependent on your upload speed and how reliable your internet service provider is. Like I said, mine's not crazy reliable. So when I'm actually streaming, not recording, I'll have this set to 5,000. I have my keyframe interval set to 1, which is best for high action, first person shooter type of games, which is what I mainly play. My profile set to main, and my max B frame set to 2. And up here, which is one of the most important things in this tab, your encoder setting, you want to set this, if it's available, to hardware NVENC new. Without diving too deep into what exactly that is, basically there's a designated chip in your graphics card that is set specifically for this setting, which means it doesn't affect your actual graphics card when it comes to your FPS when you're gaming. And if that was confusing, that's fine. Just make sure that you use this setting, just trust me on it. And like I said before, I will be making a more in-depth video about this in the future. So just wait for that to come out and I'll explain it more. Now, once we exit out of that, it's time to set up our actual scenes and sources. I have a brand new scene set up right here that I've already labeled setup tutorial for this setup tutorial. And since this video is all about the bare minimum you'll need to get your stream up and running correctly and smoothly, then we're only gonna make one scene for now, and that's our main scene, which you can go into here, rename, and we'll just name it our live scene, Seeb. Done. So now that we have that labeled as live scene, if in the future you go ahead and make more scenes, you'll know which one you need when you're actually live playing your game. Now, coming over to the right side here for your sources, the first thing you want to add is your display capture. Now, I already have mine on because I need it to record this video. Now, before that, I quickly want to mention that for this display capture, I use this to capture my gameplay. You could also, in here, you will see there is an option that says game capture. And this obviously is meant to capture your game that's currently running on your PC. However, I found that this can be a little buggy sometimes, and I found that display capture is most reliable. All you need to do is click one of these sources, and like I said, I prefer display capture, so that's what we'll use. Add source, and we'll just make it a new source so that you can see what it looks like when you would actually do it. So this is what it'll come up as. You can name it whatever you want. You can name it gameplay, or whatever. Add your source, and then you get to choose what display that you want it to show up on. I'm on a 3-monitor setup here. So my main display, which is my display 1, is my 1440p monitor, which is my gaming monitor, which is what I want to capture. So I'll click that, done, and there it is. It captured it again. But like I said, I already have it down here as display capture. So I'll just get rid of this gameplay 1 for now. And there you go. You have your display capture up, it's ready to capture your game, but keep in mind that it will capture every single thing on your screen. So if you have anything else that's popped up on another window, something that might be private, that you don't want anyone else to see, then make sure you're not pulling it down onto this display right here, because then everyone's going to see it. Now, next thing you want to do is go over and add your video capture device. And basically what your video capture device is going to be is either your webcam or your DSLR or whatever you are using. I am using a DSLR because by trade, I am a videographer / photographer. So I already had a nice camera, so I figured I might as well just use it on my stream. So you'll go over here, add this source, video capture device. I'll just rename it A7 III. I wish it was A7S III. And boom, there it is. Now you're seeing me twice, hello. So by default, it's picking up the Cam Link 4K, which is the only option in here anyway, so it should pick it up, and it'll pick it up for you as well, as long as your camera's on and everything's plugged in correctly into your PC. And you don't really need to touch anything down here, so you can just click done. And then you can go ahead and click these and drag them to any size that you want. And I'll just place it right here, and we'll get rid of that guy over there. Lame dude, so ugly. Blech. And the next thing you're gonna wanna do is add in your audio output capture. This is different than your input capture, obviously, or else they'd be named the same thing. So for me, it says it captures your desktop audio, which is fine, add that source. I use this as my Discord, or my PC has an Xbox app, which specifically I use for when I'm playing with Xbox console players. And when I configure this, you'll see in my options, I have a voice channel in my headset that specifically deciphers between the two channels. So it knows the difference between an app that's specifically designed for audio only, and then the game that I'm playing. So it has the game sound, which is the game channel, and then whatever app I'm using for voices in the voice channel. So what I would do is I would add this source. I'll go down here, drop down menu, and you would see headset, earphone, which is different than my headphones. Headset, earphone, Astro A50 voice. So this is the voice channel I'm talking about. My headset knows the difference between the two. So I would click on that right there and done. So now I have this set up properly, so that way when I'm running Discord or the Xbox app or something like that, or even something like Spotify, where it's an app designated specifically for audio, which my headset would recognize, it'll be playing down in here, and I can adjust this slider accordingly to balance out those levels so one's not like drowning out the other. And another thing that I'm noticing down here, which I forgot to mention when it comes to setting up your webcam or your camera, if it automatically detects audio, which most do, then it'll automatically add in an audio channel, which you can see right here is going up and down. At the time of editing this, I've already muted this channel for you, so that way you're not hearing me twice and be very annoying. So all you need to do for this is you can either just mute it, so that way you're not hearing that, unless if you're using this as your main audio, which I highly recommend you do not do because it'll sound absolutely terrible. So mute that, especially if you have your other mic, which we'll set up soon. You can click on this little settings icon and go to hide, and it's not even there anymore. Don't need to worry about it, but make sure you muted it first. So now that that's out of the way, we'll go in here and add in your audio. So this is how everyone on your stream is going to hear you. So we'll go to the plus button again. We'll go over to audio input capture. So this is your audio going into your device, out to your stream. We're going to add that. You'll see it tells you specifically. If you ever have any questions of what does this do, it'll have up here what exactly you're going to be adding and what each one does. Add the source. Let's name this my mic. Add it, and then I have the Audio Technica AT2020 USB version. So I will click that, add it in, and as you can see again, it is picking up my voice channel right here. Now, after you have all those things set up, that's really the bulk of what you need to start a stream. You don't need much else to output a stream to Twitch. Obviously, there's things you can do to make it look and feel better, which you probably should do in the future, which, as I keep reminding you, I will be making a video about shortly. So that way you guys can add more flair to your streams. That way it feels and looks like all the professionals that you see out there doing it right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope someone found this helpful. If you're first starting out, then setting up a single PC stream can be somewhat intimidating, but as you saw in the video today, it's really not that hard once you see how it's done. But as I kept mentioning throughout this video, I do plan on making a more in-depth video about Streamlabs OBS in particular. I have actually already made a video about how to test your stream, which I'll link. It's either here or here. I never remember which one. But past that, I do want to remind you guys that I do stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 6:30 p.m. Eastern and on, and I'm doing Saturday mornings now as well. Also, if you like this video, then make sure you hit that like button, and while you're at it, scoot on over to that subscribe button and hit the bell so you get notified every time I post more videos, just like this one. But past that, I expect you guys to set up your Christmas trees, stay in the course, keep grinding, and I'll catch you in the next one.